dealing with anything heavy, any loss, a lot on your mind, if you're experiencing depression or D, all of the above, we send out our heart and love to you. We are all going through it one way or another. Um, and this week for me definitely hit me a little harder than others in the past. So please bear with me as we work through this show today. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I have to say good morning to super producer, sister that knows how to find the best songs all the time, Miss Kayla J. Hey, Miss Kayla, how are you?
Good morning, Miss Tiff. I'm doing all right. I'm certainly praying for you and your friends and their families. I send my condolences to
Thank you.
all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a lot. There's a lot of loss going around right now. So I'm I don't even think I have the capacity to hide tears. So if they flow, just excuse me today, y'all. Just excuse me today. But you always have something powerful for us to check out on Friday nights, early Saturday morning. What can we expect from your program tonight?
Hey, we're continuing our purpose series and our faith stories. In times like this, we have to depend on our faith. So I'm really excited. The brothers are taking over tonight. I have
Okay.
a pastor right here from Philly who's going to talk about purpose and what the church can do and what they haven't been doing and helping people finding their purpose. And then I got a good friend and brother all the way from North Kakalaki that's going to just share about his story of faith, how it's been hard, how it's been rough being a young married person, a new father, but God is still there with him.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That sounds great. Yeah, that sounds like an impactful and empowering conversation. Can't wait to check it out tonight. Tell everybody all the details in case they do not know.
At midnight, the hashtag is at midnight, right here on WURD. Just tune in to 96.1 FM or 900 AM or stream it live, download the app. You can check out Kayla J's Gospel Hour. If you say, KJ, listen, that's a little too late, but you want to hear these brothers' stories, you can go to my YouTube page where the interviews live. So just type in Kayla J on YouTube, and you should be able to participate that way as well.
That is awesome. I know that this is a passion project for you, and you talk a lot about your faith and living on purpose. Since starting this, and I'm just going to put you in the interview seat for a few minutes, and then I'll tell folks what's coming up on the show today. Since you started this, how has this made you feel about your purpose, about what you want to do, about what you want to do here at WURD?
Yeah, Kayla J's Gospel Hour, a lot of folks don't know, started when I was in college, actually, on WGMU, the first radio station I ever worked at. And to bring it back in my full adulthood meant something completely different to me. When I started it in college, I started it because there was no gospel programming on campus, and I felt the need to bring the gospel. And when the opportunity presented itself here at WRD for me to bring it back, I said, "All right, God, I can't do it like I'm a college kid anymore. What am I supposed to do?" And when I say that he reminded me of some words that were spoken over my life, I said, all right, God, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. So as you said, I always talk about living in purpose and walking in my purpose. I truly feel that with starting Kayla J's Gospel Hour here, I'm doing what I'm meant to do. I'm spreading, my mission of the show is spreading the love of Christ one song at a time,
I love
combining my
it.
two favorite things, Jesus and music. And I feel like people are getting helped, and people are learning about Christ. Whether or not they accepted, the whole message of Christ is love, and I want everybody to know that there's someone out there that loves them. So doing this project has just made me feel good. I could be having a terrible Friday, but when it comes down for me to do Kayla J's Gospel Hour, the smile comes on my face, the tears comes to my eyes, because I'm overjoyed by the love.
Yeah, that's awesome. There is nothing like having that center of joy, having something you can lean on, as you said, when things are rough, when you're having a terrible Friday, when you're having a terrible week, to have something that you can dig your teeth into, put your whole heart in, and it brings you that kind of joy. That is so necessary and amazing. And I'm so happy for you that you have that you are working in your purpose. It really does balance everything else out a lot.
It does.
A whole lot. So let me just give you the heads up on what's coming up on the show for today. We are going to rearrange some of the content, for 10 a.m. And as you can tell, if you're watching the Facebook Live feed, hello, Facebook. I am in the moment, just struggling. I'm just letting the tears flow. This is, very real time. A lot of stuff. There is just a lot of stuff that's happening that is extremely emotional. And sometimes even in a professional setting, you just, nature has to happen. Emotions have to flow. And so mine are flowing. So I'm going to take a few moments to get myself together. But coming up on the show today, I want to introduce you to a new research study that's testing the effectiveness of homegrown mental health, personal values, sexual and reproductive health curriculum for Philadelphia African-American teens. 2 members of the Talking Matters study team will be joining us at 11 a.m. And at 12 noon, our new segment, Stage Door, with my co-host, Jeffrey Page. We will talk art and social justice with actor, director, and founder of First World Theater, Zahara McGill. But right now, I see my dear friend to the show, Miss Kay Bellamy, is going to be joining us. Just want to give you the quick heads up. We're going to take a early commercial break. So like I said, I can get myself together. And then we will come back and talk all things pop and culture. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
You probably heard it before, but one of the best ways to stay safe from COVID is by avoiding crowds. That's better. Also, when you're out in public, make sure you stay 6 feet away from strangers or people you don't live with. It's okay to say, "Can I have some space, please?"
Well, it's going to be a beautiful sunny day today, and we can expect much.
If you're gonna have a get-together with friends and family, have it outside. And remember to keep those 6 feet of social distance. And last but not least, wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth with no gaps. They slow the spread of COVID or new forms of the virus called variants. And make sure you get your vaccine when it's your turn. We're all out here trying our best, and it's making a difference. We just gotta keep it up. We can do this.
To learn more about slowing the spread, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The Sankofa Freedom Academy Charter School is an African-centered public freedom school that is looking for experienced, certified teachers in kindergarten through 12th grade for the 2021-22 school year. These positions are full-time and come with full health, vision, dental, and retirement benefits. Salary is comparable to the School District of Philadelphia. Interested parties should send their resume and cover letter via email to careers@sfacs.us. For more information, visit sfacs.us.
All Philadelphians deserve safe, healthy, and thriving neighborhoods. Yet communities are being torn apart by both mass incarceration and community violence. Tune in Monday, April 19th on Reality Check with Charles Ellison at 10 a.m. to join 215 People's Alliance, Councilmember Kendra Brooks, Pastor of the Hood Carl Day, and others to discuss how to build a Philadelphia where all members of every community can access the resources needed to heal and thrive.
Want the latest
best in word swag? Check out the shop tab on wordradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on wordradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
You are now rocking with DJ 215.
Service. She said, hello, may I help you, please? I told her something must be wrong with my phone, 'cause my baby wouldn't hang up on me. Mr. Telephone Man, there's something wrong with my line. When I dial my baby's number, I get a click every time. Mr. Telephone Man, there's something wrong with my line.
Loving that. You want to talk about trying to stay upbeat and bringing some joy to your ears. That's Miss Kayla J with that nice mini new edition mix. Definitely takes me to nicer memories, friendlier times, and a whole lot of fun. Welcome back to this Friday edition of The Source. I'm Tiffany Bacon here with you on WURD. Much love going out to our Facebook viewers. Thank you. Thank you always for your support, always for checking us out here on Fridays. My special guest in the 10 a.m. hour, dear friend to the show, regular contributor and all things great, Miss Kay Bellamy. Miss Kay, thank you so much for joining.
I am so happy to be here always with you, honey. Always with you, both of us breathing on schedule. Thank God.
Yes.
Thank God.
Thank you for and for the awesome messages on Facebook. So yeah, I'm a little broken up this morning. You know, there's a totality of a loss that happens when you are just constantly, we are all like just constantly moving forward and pushing forward. And there's a point when there's only so much loss you can consume or view or witness. If you've been keeping up with the Chauvin trial, if you've been keeping up or even hearing or witnessing the amount of violence that is happening in our community. And then on top of that, you experience any personal losses, whether the people are close to you or distant or somewhere in between. There's a point where it becomes a bit much. So I want to spend a bit of time talking right now about the need for all of us to provide support for one another and some kindness and some grace, and just to share how you are feeling. Are you at that point where you're like, yo, I can't even stop tears from flowing anymore because it's just too much. It's just too much loss. So I put this out to you, Miss K. Bellamy. How are you? And excuse my mess. I am a mess today. And it's just
That's
not, it's not,
okay.
I'm not going to be,
That's
I'm
okay.
not going to be a mess. Double negatives, not supposed to use them, but I think for a moment I'm going to be a mess. So I'm just putting that out there. That's what it is.
Yeah.
How are you managing with all of this that is going on?
I don't know that I am managing, because managing implies that, you know, you have some sense of control, or you have some remedy that makes the situation okay. Every day when you turn on the TV and it's shooting after shooting after shooting, and we've been in crisis for so long. It seems like such a long period of time, from the coronavirus hitting the United States, taking out loved ones and family members and friends, and then followed by mass shootings and shootings in our communities and losing children. And I don't know if anyone can manage. I don't think anyone can manage. We are in such a horrific state of affairs in our communities, and we want to believe that it's just us. It's all over. It's just all over. People are, you have to wonder what is on our minds, that where are we as a people? And when I think about the gun laws, I say to myself, the people who are sitting in places like the NRA, the people who are sitting in government, the people who are sitting in leadership for police departments, what are you saying? What is the conversation? I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear the conversation. At some point, are you ever saying we got to get a handle on this gun situation? What are the conversations? And I think the fight has to be to get in those rooms and get at those tables, because, Tiffany, if we don't, listen, I have 2 full-grown all black grandsons, got a black brother, all of my nephews, black men. You can't even rest at night. Your mind doesn't even allow you to rest at night. When, you know, there was a time where you were okay going to bed at night and you were going to sleep. But I think every parent, every grandparent, every aunt, every uncle, every mom, we're all on these pins and needles waiting. Is it us? Will we be next? Will my sons be next? We're not managing. We're not managing. And I'd be lying if I said that I'm managing something. I'm sitting here almost frozen in awe at what is happening in our communities and what's happening in our cities and what's happening to our children. And, you know, whether it's us killing each other or being killed by police, or it's just too much and you can't manage it. You cannot manage it. And you sure can't manage it by yourself. Yeah. And it's sending all of us into a mental tailspin. It's sending all of us into a mental tailspin.
Yeah.
Because some days I want to call my grandsons and say, just don't go out of the house. Just don't go out of the house. And even for myself, I mean, people are going in the supermarkets and they're going, you can't, like, it's everywhere. FedEx, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so there is no managing. There's a lot of prayer and there's a lot of, understanding that. I used to say, when people would say life is too short, and I would say, yeah, for some, but for others, life can be really long. But now, you got to leave it at, life is really becoming short.
Yeah. It's a lot. I'd love to hear from you also, the audience. Please give us a call, 215-634-8065. How are you managing your emotions around all of this, the constant killings, shootings, loss in your family, whether it's gun violence or not? Watching, if you're keeping up with or watching the Chauvin trial and seeing that over and over again, or just replaying, re-experiencing trauma in your life, how are you managing? Give us a call, share your thoughts, 215-634-8065. You can also post on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for the love for those who are checking us out and who are posting wonderful messages. Much hugs and love to you all as well. Often on the show, I talk a lot about mental health. I talk about feelings because it's so important to get them out. When you do not release them, they become something else. It either becomes illness in your body, or you just become a crotchety old person and you're just not fun to be around, or everything is negative. You see everything from a negative lens. And yes, it is very hard sometimes to maintain any sliver of optimism, especially when you're inundated with murder after murder, shooting after shooting, death after death, whatever. Add that on top of, Miss Kayla was just playing the song Sensitivity by Ralph Tresvant, talking about when you have all of that in your emotional space, and then you're dealing with insensitive people. You try not to be the person that snaps out. You try not to be the person that cusses someone out. Some folks find great joy and comfort in a good cuss out. That has not been my ministry. I don't know that I can pick up that ministry at 50 years of age. I don't know that that will help me. I will stick with prayer and everything else. But it becomes so difficult sometimes just to do anything. There are times when it becomes too much and you want to be helpful, you want to be available. But how do you work around all that you just said, and then still dealing with people who are insensitive, whether they are non-Black or not, especially around this issue? Sometimes I feel like I want to fight when people are insensitive about this issue. If you even talk about any alternative ways to tackle the gun violence in our city, or if whatever the case may be, I find like I want to fight sometimes. I just want to fight. Sometimes I just want to fight to kind of get that off and say, okay, wait, can we all be sensitive to this situation, be caring about each other's feelings, and lift each other up? Can we do that? Can we do that? How do you handle it if you encounter, say you have a lot is breaking, you're emotional about all that's happening in the community, and you encounter insensitivity? How do you manage that?
So, in two ways. One, a big part of what drives our feelings and emotions towards a situation or circumstance is knowledge and what people know. It's for some people who are insensitive, a lot of times it's because it's the expectation for them. So you have those people who believe that, you know, blacks killing blacks, that's nothing new. That's not a new thing. They don't get sensitive about what they already expect. And so those people lack just knowledge because of their own built-in expectation of what they believe we do anyway. But here's the thing. When I think about, while our situations as blacks come to the forefront immediately, we see it and it's like, oh my God, that's what blacks do. But when you have mass shootings in schools with white kids, young white males, you don't hear a lot about that. Once that happens, you don't hear much about it. People don't talk about it. They put it under the rug. They put them away safely and they go on with life. But here's the thing. It is true. We cannot. It's hard sometimes, and I get it, and I understand your fight because I believe that too. It makes you want to fight. But here's the thing. We can't worry about those who don't see the sensitivity in loss of life, period. I don't care what color, because loss of life has no color line. It just doesn't. And that's the thing that people don't understand. It has no color line. Loss of life, especially in a horrific way, like gun violence, there is no color line. The problem is our state of mind. Where are we? We're not thinking about that. People who are insensitive to it or who do not see the seriousness of what is happening, I don't worry about them. I don't worry about them. I want to focus on those who get that it is deeper, because before the gun gets to the hand, the action came to mind. And so focusing on that, and I know that we talk a lot about why are we not paying more attention to mental health? Why are we not dealing with that? Because I'm telling you, it's not just people who are causing these acts that are dealing with mental health. It's people who are dealing with these people, you know, losing loved ones. Our mental state of mind is about to go down the drain. And that is the part that we need to capture. Our children right now, their mental state of mind, schooling from home, all the pandemic stuff, all the gun violence. Can you imagine? We as adults, it's hard enough for us to just wrap our minds around it. But our children, young, who are scared to come out of the house because of the pandemic, scared to come out of the house because of the police shooting, scared to come out of the house because of gun violence in their neighborhood. Can you imagine what their state of mind will be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? That is where the focus is. I don't care about people who are insensitive to it. That's your thing. I'm not going to waste time and energy. But I want to put my energy and my time towards those of us and our children who need to get our minds in some place, because fear is going to wrap us so hard in a minute until we won't be able to move. We'll be frozen. And we can't live a life like that. We can't live a life like that. We're stuck. Yeah. We are stuck. And we got to figure out how to get unstuck. And people who are insensitive, listen to me. I tell people anytime, put them in God's hands. God got that right there. Focus on the people who understand the whole picture. The whole picture. And like I said, before the gun gets to the hand, the action was already to the mind. Yeah. And so we got to focus on the mind. We got to focus on the mental state of people, period. We got to focus on the mental state. And how do we do that is the $1 million question. How do we do that?
Yeah. Let's bring some joy into the conversation. Let's hear from you. How are you managing all of this? How are you managing your emotions around all that is happening? What are your best practices? What brings you joy? How do you let go? Do you let go? Share with us. 215-634-8065. I see some comments from our listeners, our viewers on Facebook Live. Thank you so much. I'm going to scroll back and read a few. We have, let's see. I see we have Rosalind. Okay, I see we have Rosalind. Good morning, love. Original OG Black love. Yes. Tiffany, Kayla, J. I love you, Tiffany. We have to let go and let God in his world, and we're just in it. Thank you so much. I'm going to try and find, I see there's some other comments here. I'm going to try and scroll back in a second. Miss K, what is it that brings you joy, that keeps you balanced when you really had enough? How do you manage? How do you uplift? How do you care for your mental health?
So one of the things that brings me joy, and it's funny because as my grandchildren get older, as teenagers and they become adults, they're like on their own, they're in college and, they're teenagers, they're doing their thing. And what brings me joy more than anything is that every day in my mind, I wake up in the morning and one of the things that's on my to-do list is to call each one of them one by one and say, hey, you don't even call your grandmother. So we go through this whole thing and we laugh and we talk. And I say to all of them, I'm just calling to say, I absolutely love you for real. And I think for them, one, it teaches them that, it's okay to love. And it teaches them that having a support system brings me joy. Having a support system brings me joy. Friends and family, being able to chat with them and talk to them and share our lives together. I love going out and hanging with my sisters and on a Saturday and we're out shopping and my daughter, or we traveling to go on a trip together. It brings me joy. But what else brings me joy is having real conversations. I remember being in radio and being a radio personality and having conversations with people, letting people know that you're here. What you're doing every time you come on this mic is bringing someone joy. And I just shared with someone the other day is that it's an amazing feeling, a beautiful feeling when you realize that something about you inspires people. That's an amazing feeling. That's a joy for me that's beyond anything I can ever imagine. That something I do or something about me inspires someone else. It brings me more joy than I can explain. Awesome. And so I share with you that says every time you come on this mic and on the air and on Facebook, you are inspiring somebody in some way. And you may not ever know who it is. And then you may know because they may say it. But that is the biggest joy of all, is that if you can bless somebody else's life some way, somehow, through words, through doing, through giving, that is the greatest joy for me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's go to the phones real quick. We have Maurice calling in on line 2. Maurice, good morning. You're live on air.
How you doing, North Philly, buddy?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in.
Look, now that I done stopped crying, I can talk to you.
Okay.
Now, look, you know what makes me happy is with all this madness that's going on, we just can't give up. Myself out here in Southwest, which I call the Badlands, we organize little things here. Our buddies and the young fellas, I say, you know what? You guys that get up in the morning, you're not working, go up there and stand on the corner around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and stand up there and wait for them ladies to get on the trolley. Let them know there's a man standing there on the corner. When you know a neighbor that's doing bad, let somebody know. Maybe next time we go to the market, we'll bring something back. When you care about other people, you don't worry about yourself. And that's what I try to teach people. A lot of people around here know me because I was a guard up at Gradyford, so most people call me by my last name or CO or whatever. I'm 60 years old, but I helped these kids when they were young, and now they're men, and I'm able to talk to them. And every time I can think to throw a little bit of knowledge on them, I can, because back in the day, we used to have store owners that used to do that for us, black store owners, which there are none in my neighborhood. And they used to be Mr. Rick, Mr. Johnny, and they say little things to you, boy, you need to stop doing that, or I'll tell your mother. Those were mentors, and we don't have them anymore. So it's up to us that's still around, that still know about old school, is to still be able to stop and talk. Or if you got a couple dollars in your pocket, hey, man, look, man, I got $10, man. Can you cut my lawn for me? Just to give somebody something to do. Sit down and just talk a little bit about what's going on, how they doing in school, how was their day. Little small things. It got nothing major. And you'd be surprised the effect that has because they're not used to getting it. We've got to understand, we're going through 3 generations of crack. And a lot of these kids are affected by that. This is the outcome, where they don't have no sense of moral responsibility. Back in the day, if somebody wanted to do something to somebody, they at least make sure their children and the wife was out the way. But not today. They just don't care. And we got to bring that back. It's not going to happen overnight. And I want to close on this one last thing. You heard the mayor's budget, right?
Yes.
I was looking forward to hoping that the people who look like us in city council, that's supposed to be about us, would have some type of summer job program for all these kids that's going to be out here with 90-degree weather with nothing to do. And I didn't hear none of that in the budget. And I'm fearful on them 90-degree days what we got to look forward to. So you go on with your show. I know this is the cool-out hour, but things are too serious in the city to be cool. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And things are very serious in this conversation right now. Very, very serious. It's important to talk about how we're managing, especially if we're not. And that's not really a cool out conversation. That's a preservation conversation. If we don't spend time talking about how we are doing in relation to everything that is going on, some people may not talk at all. And like I mentioned before, if you don't share, if you don't talk about it, it becomes something else in your body. It becomes something else in the community. It becomes something else. So this ain't about cool out, but it is about check up, check in. So we need to check in with these commercials, and we'll be right back with more conversation after this.
Hi, this is Samantha from Leo's Apparel on Germantown and Lehigh Ave. Open from 9:30 to 5:30 Monday through Saturday. We have the hottest selection of boys' dress suits and casual sportswear for boys sizes 2T to 20. Men, let me tell you, we got in a large shipment of straws from Stetson. We have new linen and dress suits. Biggest selection of Stacy Adams shoes. Get an extra WURD 10% discount.
If you're feeling down or feeling blue and want someone to help you process it all, let's talk with Yolanda. She's not only a social media motivational speaker, she's a psychotherapist by trade and certified in prolonged exposure therapy for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. If you need counseling or seeking a life coach, contact Yolanda Novoa, 267-574-4632. Let's talk with Yolanda. She can be seen on Facebook and YouTube.
You're listening to The Source
on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
I don't love her. I try to tell myself, but you can see it in my eyes. So don't deny, I can't fool no one else. The truth is in the tears I cry. 'Cause if it isn't love, why do I feel this way? Why does she stay on my mind? And if it isn't love, why does it hurt so bad? Make me feel so sad inside. real. I can't describe this feeling that came when I saw her last night. Oh, she got to me. I'll let you know the reason. I saw her with another guy. So if it isn't love, why do I feel this way? Why does she stay on my mind? And if it isn't love, why does it hurt so bad? Make me feel so sad inside. And if it isn't love, why do I feel this way? Why does she stay on my mind? And if it isn't love, why does it hurt so bad? Make me feel so sad inside. I can't sleep at night. I toss and turn, listening for the telephone. But when it gets your call, I'm all choked up. Can't believe you called my home. And as a matter of fact, it blows my mind. You would even talk to me. Because a girl like you is like a dream come true. A real life fantasy. No matter what your friends try to tell you, we will make fall in love. And we will be together, any kind of weather. It's like that, it's like that. Every little step I take, you will be there. Every little step I make, we'll be together. Every little step I take, you will be there. Every little step I make, we'll be together. I can't think too straight, I'm all confused. You must have put a thing on me, 'cause there are no words that can explain. I'm living in ecstasy. You can just bet it, I got your back. You never have to feel no pain, 'cause I dedicate my life to you. You never look for love again. Girl, the only thing that matters in my life is that I'm down for you and treat you right. You've got no code to treat me cold as ice. Oh, girl, as long as I've been giving my love to you, you should be giving me your love too. You just keep on acting just like a fool. You know what it do? Don't be cruel.
And welcome back to this Friday edition of The Source. I'm Tiffany Bacon. Thank you so much for joining me. Much love to all the folks who are checking us out on Facebook Live. Thank you for your love and your care and your support. As you see, I've been a mess since started the show this morning. Thank you very much for your support in that. Miss Kayla J is behind the boards, producing the show, giving us some joy in the music selections. I appreciate that as well. And Miss Kay Bellaby joining us here on the call. So I appreciate you. There is something about something that Marie said a few moments ago that's so important when you say, when we care for each other, which is definitely things that need to happen. I know they happen in our community sporadically, but something that's so important is that care. If someone is going through something, how people show up for them. I think we have gotten too deep into belittling folks and what they do and what they don't do, how they approach things or don't approach things. If it's positive, I'm talking about things that they're doing that are positive. And you might not find that that's positive enough for you, but if it's positive, this is not the time to belittle anything that anyone is doing to provide joy or information or what have you. But that neighborhood care, if someone passes away, how everybody on the block would bring a plate over, whether they knew the person or not, whether y'all tight or not. I miss those things. I experience them in my friend circle. And when I tell you, when you are really, really down and you have somebody that just brings you a random plate of food so you don't have to worry about it, or takes care of, if it's a child or a loved one for you while you just handle business, that is invaluable. I want to encourage everybody to continue doing more of that. If you haven't done that for a neighbor or a friend lately, I encourage you to pick up that mantle to do that. When I say we need the village to come together and be supportive right now, we need the village to come together and be supportive. Folks are not here for the foolishness. Don't come with no mess. Like, come with support, and we need that. Miss K, just share your thoughts. I know we're running short on time, but share.
So you're right. We need to do more of paying attention to what's happening in each other's lives. But more importantly, we need to talk. That's how we know what's going on with people. That's how we know what's happening in their lives. When you're calling your friends and you're calling your families, ask them the question, what's going on with you? Are you okay? Don't assume just because everyone's getting up every morning and going to work and going through their day and making sure the kids get to school and doing, just going through life. Don't just assume they're okay mentally. Sometimes we have to ask the question, are you okay? And we don't do it often enough. And because what we do is we say, how you doing? And people say, oh, I'm fine. And you know what? And I remember in some movie, they said that fine means freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. We have to ask the question from our children to our parents to our friends, are you okay? What's going on with you? Where are you in your state of mind, in your life? What are you worried about? Those are real questions, because a lot of times we don't talk about that on our own. We don't talk about it because we don't want people to make it seem, we don't want people to think that we're weak. We don't want people to think that we're struggling. And we sure don't want people to think that we're struggling mentally. But we got to ask the questions.
There's a lot of reasons why we don't want people to think we're struggling mentally, because look at how folks respond. It is viewed as a character flaw. It is viewed not as an illness. It's not viewed as anything that would really deserve the kind of care and love you would give to somebody who had, something else, who had something else. So yeah, people are not going to want to say much, because look, it's just like, oh my God, just get over it. How often have you heard somebody say, oh my God, that was so long ago, or, oh, you didn't know him that well, or there are more important things to focus on, or just let it go.
Just let it go.
And I'm just going to say this really, really quick, because I know you're in the middle of the point, but I want to shout out my girl, Marcia Logan, who said something really important about kindness being powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And kindness is so very powerful.
Kindness and generosity is what all of us should be living by. Kindness and generosity is definitely traits that you want to develop in your life, and you want it to be a part of your life. You want it to be in the front of your life. It carries us a long way. And I will say that we have to talk, we have to communicate. We don't need to shout. We don't need to, but people in your everyday life, we have to ask the questions now. Because we don't know who they are. We don't know what the triggers are. We don't know what's setting people on fire. We don't know. We have to ask the questions. And so I think communication is a big part of it. We got to talk to our children. We got to, even right now, we got to ask them, especially those that are home, haven't been back in the classroom, the social skills are going downhill. We have to talk to them. What's on your mind? What's going on? Because some of them get quiet. And even as adults, we do the same thing. We get quiet. And we cannot walk in silence. And I'll say this last thing. Last year, because I love t-shirts that have, phrases on them, because I love to create my phrases. And one of my favorite ones is dope. And people would say, why do you have dope on the front of your shirt? I said, that's doing our part every day.
Mm.
And that is what we have to do. We have to do our part every day. Even in the midst of tragedy, we have to continue to do our part every day.
Yeah.
We have to continue to be kind. We have to continue to communicate. We have to continue to show up and be present. And so all I can say is everybody, just be dope. Just be dope.
I love it. Thank you so much, Ms. Kay Bellamy. I appreciate you so very, very much. We are out of time for this segment. Speaking of talking, coming up next, we will be talking with two folks who are part of a team, a research team called Talking Matters that does just that with our area youth. And you would be surprised that some of the young people say to adults who care, and they may not say those things to their parents, but at least they have someone to talk to. So we're going to talk about that study and a whole lot more great stuff that is happening in the community. Ms. Kay, thank you so very much. I appreciate you.
Always. Thank you. Love you.
Mwah. Love you back. Thank you. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with more conversation after this.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery right here on WURD Radio.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
How do homeless people make out during these pandemic times? Besides eating, finding places to live, getting vaccines and wearing masks, washing their hands, and living 6 feet from each other. Phew, I look and see that I have some good stuff I won't wear again. Yes, that's right. I'm not going to wear this stuff again. The shoes are good. I'm not wearing these again. The hats are good. I won't be wearing them either. I'm going to gently wrap this stuff and give it to a thrift store, all for free. It's pandemic time. Besides, I'm having more space and I can breathe better during pandemic times. I have a friend, Miss Dorcas. She's a WURD listener. I bet Dorcas gives away good stuff during this pandemic time. Why not?
Hello, this is Councilmember Kendra Brooks. I'm calling with important information about COVID-19 vaccines. In the coming weeks, all Philadelphians over the age of 16 will be eligible for vaccination. However, you must be registered with the city to get vaccinated. Register today at www.phila.gov and fill out the vaccine interest form or email covid@phila.gov. If you cannot complete the online form, call 311 to get registered. Your information is confidential. Get registered today. Thank you.
The Mattress Man is a second-generation family-owned mattress specialist business since 1988. Open 7 days a week, located at 7421 Stanton Avenue. The Mattress Man discounts Serta, memory foam, orthopedic, and ComfortTech mattresses every day. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure you get the best price and best service. The Mattress Man offers same-day delivery on most models to most areas. Ask about the WURD discount. Call 215-424-5550.
Spring forward to throwback. All this month, when you start or renew your WURD membership, you'll get exclusive WURD throwback swag, vintage backpacks, books, and tees. While supplies last. Offer ends April 30th. Sow seeds into Black Talk Media and grow with us. Visit wordradio.com/join now to start or renew today.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You are now rocking with DJ 215.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
Broken glass everywhere. People pissing on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell, I can't take the noise. Got no one to me. I guess I got no choice.
Giving us a little music therapy with a fabulous Friday mix, Miss Kayla J. Thank you so much for providing the music this morning. Happy Friday to you. I'm Tiffany Bacon. Welcome back to this Friday edition of The Source, and I thank you so much for joining me. Much love to everybody who is checking us out on Facebook Live, and of course, those who are listening to us on the radio. I appreciate your comments, your well wishes, your support, your hugs, your love. I appreciate all of that. In this hour, I want to introduce you to a few folks who are working on a new study. The study is to show the effectiveness of a curriculum that is built for Black youth by Black people. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that. So I welcome to the show the director of the Philadelphia Area Sexual Health Initiative, Mr. Lee Carson, and a research interviewer, Mr. Marquise King. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me again, Tiff. I know I've been here a couple times, so thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Always a wealth of knowledge. And Marquise, this is your first time on my show.
Yes, this is my first time on your show.
Thank
I'm excited to be on here.
Awesome. First and foremost, just want to get a little background so that people know more about you both and about, before we get into the study and the program itself, but I want folks to get some background on you. So Lee, tell us about the PASHI program at Public Health Management Corporation. Tell us about it.
Sure. So I've been the director of PASHI. It'll be 3 years next month. And so PASHI right now, we engage in teen pregnancy prevention programs, and that's mostly the services that we provide right now. And we just had a really great discussion yesterday because we have a community advisory board that helps to inform our Talking Matters project that Marquise and I are here to talk about today. And even framing our work is like teen pregnancy prevention program. It can be a bit problematic, but nonetheless, we do adolescent sexuality work. And so we have a couple of programs. One is Horizons that works with African-American adolescent females, and that's anyone who identifies as female, whether cisgender or of a transgender experience. And then we also have SHARP, which serves adolescents and young adults of any ethnic background. And then we have Talking Matters, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then we're also really looking at, or I've been really interested in and haven't had as much success as I would like, to really expand our sexuality work into working with older adult populations as well. Because one of the things that we find is that older adults, STIs, sexually transmitted infections, for example, are on the rise among older adults, even STIs such as HIV. And there really are very few programs that are looking at sexuality among older adults. And I define older adults as 60 plus. And so maybe at some point we'll be able to expand our work. But for the most part, that's the work that PASHI does right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And Marquise, how long have you been a research interviewer? And tell us exactly what you do.
I've been a research interviewer for about 4 years now, working with Public Health Management Corporation, PHMC. And my exact job title is exactly research interviewer. I go out into the communities and I meet with teens ages 14 and 19, talking to them about exactly what Lee said, sexual health, healthy relationships, mental health, substance use, giving them surveys to get their feedback and their knowledge on how they view themselves in those different components as a teenager. And
awesome.
I've been doing that for about 4 years now on the Brother Speak project that was just geared towards young men, and now on the Talking Matters project, Brother Speak.
I got the hoodie on, the Brother Speak hoodie.
Yes. So
and,
talk
and
about.
The water bottle in full effect. Like
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said, and the water bottle in full effect. Brother Speak water bottle and hoodie.
Yes. You guys have some awesome swag, and I want to hear a little bit more about what the Brother Speak program was. I know we're not doing that program right now, but I want to talk about Talking Matters and the importance of studying a curriculum like that. So tell us a little bit more about what Talking Matters is all about, Lee.
So the inception, it's evolved over time. So I can talk about the very beginning, which was a proposal that was written almost 3 years ago, and I led the development of that proposal right out the gate when I stepped into the position. Actually, this funding opportunity by the Office of Population Affairs had come about, and so we decided that we were going to apply for it. And so I'll say, in thinking about the adolescent curriculum, one of the things, because one aspect of my background is that I work as a therapist, psychotherapist. I'm not presently practicing, but at that time I was practicing and have dedicated a good portion of my, sort of professional career to mental health, behavioral health in some way. And I thought it was really important for a program because what seemed to be missing was at least some focus or addressing of mental health. We need to plant that seed earlier in life because some of us get to be adults and are dealing and trying to navigate with mental health challenges, but never really had the foundation for that in our earlier years. And so as adults, we kind of get used to dealing with those issues in a certain way. So I thought one of the things that would be really great and useful and add value to the field would be to integrate this mental health component. And so that was added, and then substance use, because clearly there are things that may happen to the adolescent brain if we're using substances early in life, particularly if we use them in large quantities, over long periods of time, that can impact brain development and all those kinds of things. And so when putting it together, I sort of was thinking about those things. And then we felt like, we really should have an adult component, because one of the things that is really important, I think as a team, we collectively agreed on this, is that there needs to be more communication between adults and young people, but for adults to learn about healthy communication when engaging with young people. So ways to prevent roadblocks to young people wanting to come to them and talk to them about issues of sex and sexuality, because at the end of the day, whether a parent condones it or not, children may have those urges. They may want to have sex. They may have met someone that they have a connection with. And if we leave it to peers and porn is, sort of like my frame, like, that's not good, right? We want young people to be able to talk to people who can actually give them, good knowledge about sexual health. So we integrated an adult component, which I guess we're going to talk about later. Let's talk real talk. And so that was really like the conceptualization. And then we had some wonderful, so I was able to breathe life into the proposal. It got funded. And then we had wonderful staff, Tiffany, you being one of them, that are co-creator of the actual curriculum, and Marisha Marsh and Walter DeShields, to really put everything together. So what I really want people to know is that this, all the way through, like, Black people were creating this curriculum. And then we had feedback from our youth advisory board as we developed the material, the intervention materials and activities, and then had them give us feedback on them, their honest feedback about whether or not we felt these things worked or not. And we had our end product, which now is Talking Matters. So that was all of our formative. So we were just developing it, and before we could test it. And so we got it to a final place where we felt like it was really solid. We had a lot of good feedback from young people who went through the program. And here we are now in Talking Matters, which is the study that is testing whether or not this intervention does what it says it's supposed to do. So does it help increase decision-making among young people? And Marquise can talk more about that because he's on the evaluation team. But hopefully I answered your question, but that's sort of the evolution of the project and so where we're at now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lee. So maybe a lot of people might not be aware that is, when I'm not doing radio, that is, the bulk of what I am doing. I have been working with young people for 21 years now, facilitating a lot of programs. And at one point I was a high school teacher for 3 years. So I've had a lot of interaction with young folks, and it is so awesome to see how teenagers will open up to adults who definitely care. And as we would go in for a program that may only last 4 days, they would really open up because they could tell we're not there for numbers. We're not there because we getting a check. We're actually concerned about their health and well-being. our programs are not based around dealing with the violence in our community, but it comes up. How they manage what's happening to them, what's happening around them, comes up in these conversations. And because it comes up, and because we were presenting programs that did not have space in the curriculum to deal with it, we made sure we inserted something that dealt with their mental and emotional health. Because when you're talking, you can't just talk about sexual and reproductive health without talking about, well, what are your values? And without talking about, how do you feel about you? How do you feel about the world? Do you know why you are making the decisions that you're making? Think about it for a second. Are you just doing it just to be doing it? Or did you think about it? Are you thinking about what that means for you overall in your life? This decision right here, is it in alignment with your goals? Do you have goals? Let's talk about those goals. How can those things shape the decisions that you make? And so it's been an honor to help create a program that really addresses that for the young person without the judgment of old people. So that was the other part. They hate to hear about all the judgment from older folks without really listening to them and listening to how they feel and their thoughts about what's coming their way. Marquise, as a research interviewer, what are some of the things that, when having interviews, whether it's on the Talking Matters team or any other team, what are the things that you're hearing young people say without, of course, giving any specific thing that, that was private in a conversation, just roundabout concepts and ideas that they shared with you?
Wow. It's so much. Big one I would say is like homelessness, unplanned pregnancy, maybe like dropping out of school, foster in situations where participants have been in foster care and stuff like that. Yeah, that'll probably be it. But like you said, I admire the fact that these young teens that don't know me are willing to open up and feel like I'm somebody that they can trust and have this conversation with me, even though it's only for an hour. At this moment, they feel free enough that they can have these conversations without being judged, without being looked down on, because they know somebody who looks like them and come from probably the same background as them is here actually listening to them and not talking down at them.
Yeah. Do you feel that when you have these conversations with young people that what you just said really makes a difference in, like, do they really rethink maybe how they approach something after having, a space to talk about it?
I do think so. And the reason why is because sometimes we might see participants on a train, or they might hit us up on our social media and they might tell us success stories that they had. They might have dropped out of school and they might hit us up on our Instagram account and let us know, I'm back in school now. That conversation that we had about school, it really touched me. So I decided to enroll in school. And these are adults that are 20 years old, reaching out, letting us know that, what you told me was impactful. And it made me think twice about the decisions that I am making.
All right, if you're just tuning in, this is the Friday edition of The Source. I am here with two members of the Talking Matters research study from Public Health Management Corporation. They're talking about this new program. The curriculum is called We Get to Choose. The study is called Talking Matters. And they're talking about how it's having an impact in the community with young people who've already participated. But they're going to tell you a little bit more about the study. If you have a question about the study, feel free to give us a call. The number is 215-634-8065. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will have more conversation after this.
I'm Henry Louis Gates Jr. We are people of resilience. No matter what happens, we fight through the pain. We protect our traditions. We uphold our excellence. So let's protect our lives with vaccines we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey WURD family, have you heard of the new Go to Know campaign? If not, here is the deal. WURD Radio has partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Penn Medicine, LabCorp, and the Independence Blue Cross Foundation to present the Go to Know Fit Kit Screening Campaign. The Go to Know campaign is an at-home screening test for colon cancer. Yup, you heard me right. You can take your own stool sample and mail it back for testing. Did you know colon cancer, if caught early, is 100% preventable? African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. Plus, it is recommended you get screened if you are 45 years of age or older. So for the next 6 months, you can go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. It's that simple. Again, just go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and request your free at-home screening test. That's it. Go to Know today.
This is not a fad for us.
We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are
Undeniably,
indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media.
WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Tiffany Bacon on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Love it. And it started with a little kids like this. Another summer. Sound of the funky drummer. Music hitting your heart, cause I know you got soul. Hey, listen if you're missing, y'all. Swinging while I'm singing. Hey, giving what you're getting. Know what I know in. While the black band's sweating. In the rhythm round rolling. Gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey, our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power.
Even if
Stand by, because
even when you talk, it takes over me. Yes, I'm dandy. I wanna know, can you feel it too?
And welcome back to this Friday edition of The Source. I'm Tiffany Bacon. Thank you so much for joining me. Much love to the folks who are checking us out on Facebook Live. We are here. Oh, and thank you, Miss Kayla, for the music selections. She's got some music therapy going on for us in between each break, so I appreciate that. Welcome back. We are speaking with Marquise King and Lee Carson, who are two members of the Talking Matters Research Study, and they're here to tell us more about the study. If you have a question about the study and what you're hearing, pardon me, please give us a call at 215-634-8065. Let's go right to the phones and speak with Tyrone calling in on line 1. Tyrone, good morning. You're live on air.
Blessings to everyone. Thank you so much for sharing the information, because right now our children are in such dire need of things to get them through the madness that they're living through each and every day. I say it over and over that our young folks are truly, truly suffering, trying to live through the violence, the killings, and all the other things that just comes at us. So when we have resources that can pull them out, it's a blessing. And right now, my brothers, I know that we're talking about things that work for them. But my question, is there a message that we can give our young folks to not be a part of the snatch and grab and the burning down of the community that is definitely going to happen when the verdict of that trial?
Okay. Thank you so much, Tyrone. So Lee or Marquise, do either one of you want to respond to Tyrone's question?
I'm sure I can respond to Marquise if you want to say anything as well. But so I'll say that the study doesn't, so the project that we have doesn't cover those things. Now, those things may come up. I'm not one of the facilitators, so those things may come up in the context of the program, particularly as we talk about mental health. People may talk, some of the young people may talk about the trial or things that are happening in society. I think that there's a lot of rage, a lot of justified rage that Black people have and that young people have as they learn about the injustices since the founding of this country, and Black people were brought here, Africans were brought here in slavery. So, you know, there's a lot of generational anger and rage that has really built across the generations. So I don't think that the study can specifically speak to that. I think that, you know, I think generally, I guess my thought is that smashing, grabbing, and all of those things are not going to change the systematic injustices in which we live in. And that's the hope, is that we get that there are lots of us who are really focused on those systems level changes that need to occur, so that we as Black people in this country are living in a more equitable place, right? That policing no longer looks like it does, that, you know, these kinds of things, you know, a variety of issues that impact us, you know, really are better, so that we all can, you know, live in a more equitable society. But I don't know, Marquise, if you have anything you want to share. But
no, I think you summed it up.
All right. Thank you so much, Tyrone. I appreciate you. If anyone has a question about the study and what we're discussing, please feel free to give us a call. The number to reach us in studio, 215-634-8065. So let's break down what this study is, a little bit more about the curriculum. So Lee, if you want to give us that, and then you can also talk, you started talking about the adult component, the Let's Talk Real Talk component. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that curriculum entails as well?
Yeah, so the intervention itself is 5 sessions long. It consists of 5 sessions. And so throughout the course of those 5 sessions, we talk about sexual and reproductive health. It's really important that young people, and I'll say the other thing is that this particular intervention, this program, is for all genders. So there are male identified folks in the room, female identified folks in the room. That was another thing that, and as we talked about developing this program and we're writing a proposal, was important to have, you know, both sexes in the room, or, you know, just all genders in the room, to have these discussions, because often these programs have, you know, female identified folks like exclusively, or male identified folks exclusively. But it's really important that we had all genders in the room. And so that's one thing I think that also helps to make this a bit unique. And so it's important that, like, each sex knows about the sexual reproductive health of their own bodies, but also of their partners' bodies, right? Like, so that you know how things work. And so the health educators give medically accurate information to talk about birth control and contraception, so that folks understand what methods are available to them and how to use them appropriately, because you can use condoms inappropriately, that could make them less effective. So we try to equip young folks with that knowledge. As I mentioned earlier, we talk about mental health, we talk about substance use, but a big part that's threaded throughout is about values and decision making. And so we know just through adolescent brain development, or just human brain development, that the part of the decision making that really requires, because how like in your kids, at least I know I heard this, like, you acting like you ain't got no sense. You know what I mean? And so some of that, it requires like a deeper level of thought to integrate not just like your impulses. I mean, that part of the brain develops immediately, where you may react to things without really thinking, or without taking the time to think about what might be the consequences of this action. But as we get older, and our brains don't fully develop until our mid-20s or so, the front part of the brain, which is the last part to really truly develop, is where all the reasoning and wise thinking that we might engage in later in life as we're adults is when that comes in. And I know this is a little like sciencey or whatever, but point being that we try to sort of jumpstart that a little bit, helping young people to think about, well, what are your values and what might be the consequences of choices in certain circumstances. And so we have a number of activities that were developed specifically with this in mind. And again, as Tiffany mentioned, as being one of the curriculum creators and having many, many years of experience of working with adolescents, understanding how adolescents think, and then taking all of that knowledge, along with our other co-creators, and putting together activities that really help to jumpstart that more critical thinking to help young people, think about some of their decisions and things of that nature. So that's essentially, and then in the fifth session, the final session, there's a video project that the young people engage in, where they talk about what they've learned throughout the course of the previous 4 sessions. And so it's really great to hear and to see them talk about what they gained from their engagement with each other and also with the facilitators. So I don't know if I did that justice, as now the co-creator of the, doing it day in and day out, but I would say that that's like the gist of it. And then the Let's Talk Real Talk, which is the adult curriculum. And so that is really like a 3-session training program where we train essentially adults, and that's defined as anyone 21 years of age and older, who has African-American adolescents in their life in some way. It could be that you're a mentor, that you're a parent, that you're a aunt, uncle, whatever capacity in which you work with African-American adolescents, then this program would be for you. Doesn't matter what your race or ethnicity is to participate. And during that course, we also talk about, and it's free, and we actually, since this is part of the study, we actually, compensate folks for their participation in each of the sessions. And so you learn about the proper terms for sexual and reproductive anatomy. We find that health class for some people was many, many, many moons ago, and even that may not have been really great sex education or about our bodies. And so we make sure that we talk about that, because as an adult, if a young person comes to you, you want to be able to let them know, to give them the accurate information. So we equip folks with that. We also talk about sexual orientation, gender identity, what we call an expression, what we call SOGI, sexual orientation, gender identity, expression, because we find that young people these days that there may be a level of not just being, of really thinking about their sexuality and their attractions to other people in less rigid ways than we might have 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so we want to make sure that we give people the knowledge on the range of ways that young people may identify themselves, so that you can be the hip person who your young person comes to you. I don't know if any of your viewers or if any of you watch This Is Us. I think it's an amazing show. And on that show, there's a Black family, and their daughter is going through that whole thing, right, about sexual orientation and what their identity is and all of these things. That's not a white thing. Like, this also happens within Black communities also. And so we want to make sure that the folks who come through the program understand about those things. We then also talk about communication, and that's what's really key here. So as Tiffany said, that, you know, we want people to be as non-judgmental as possible, because young people will pick up on judgment very easily. If you shut the conversation down, it could just be something right on the front end, like, you better not bring no babies here or whatever, right? Just that alone may shut that young person down as to thinking that they may not be able to come to you to talk about the fact that they may be thinking about having sex, or may have already had sex, or maybe there's something happening with their body as a result of an STI. They don't know what it is or what's going on. So we also talk about STIs, their symptoms, what they look like, just so that you can be informed. So if a young person comes to you and says, you know, I've been kind of having this burning sensation, you know, when I pee or whatever, then we may say, oh, if we know that they've, you know, been having sex, or we may say, like, have you, you know, you may just be able to engage in that conversation, whatever.
Yeah, let me just interrupt really quick, just to input. I've seen and participated in some of the facilitation for the adults, and it's really interesting. There was a group that we had before the pandemic, and how everyone in the group was really shocked so we did some role play, being a young person, you know, and a parent, and how the manner in which you talk to them can completely shut you out of a lot of information about them. And the older folks in the room were, you know, kind of coming to terms with maybe how they've talked to their child or grandchild, and just realizing there's a lot they probably are not aware of, because that young person said, yeah, I'm just not going to talk to you. And especially right now, what's really important, whether we're talking about sexual and reproductive health, we're talking about mental health, we're talking about gun violence in the community, regardless of the conversation, regardless of the topic, conversations really need to happen. That knowledge of support from that adult in their life, that trusted adult, that parent, that teacher, would have, or whoever that person is, that is so very key. And I'm glad to see so many folks say, you know what, yeah, let me make an adjustment, because I do want this young person in my life to talk to me. I do want to know what's going on. I do want to be supportive, and not just throw the book at them and tell them, get on their way. You need to do what you need to do, straighten up, fly right, or get out of my house, or whatever the case, you know, may be. And I'm just grateful for what you all are doing with the adult program, because those two components are important. You know, having the young people have knowledge, but also have the older folks have the same knowledge, so everybody's talking about the same thing at the same time, in the same way, with the same terms. But the point is that they're talking to each other. What's going to bring people together? I want to switch to Marquise for a second. Thank you, Lee, for that. I want to switch to Marquise for a second, because there's one thing that you deal with as the research interviewer when signing young people up to the program. What are some of the challenges that you face when talking to the parents? Some of the things that they don't know, or some of the things that they're concerned about when talking to them?
As of this year, I think a lot of parents have been concerned about the consent form, the form that we ask parents to sign off so that their child who's under 18 can participate in the study. Some of the terminology, you know, HIPAA, you know, they get a little bit scared when they see HIPAA. I feel like at times they think that we're going to go to the hospital and check their child's medical record and then look over it and see if they can participate, when it's nothing like that. We're just trying to make sure we're doing everything possible so that we can protect their child from anything that might happen. And when I say that, I mean, we know a lot of stuff has going on in the African-American community when it comes to research and stuff like that. So we are putting ourselves on the line so that we can make sure that any of those misconceptions or any of those things that did happen will not happen to you. You will not fall short of any of that. How long the study is going to last. Some parents think that, we're keeping their child's information forever and we're selling it off to people and switching it around and giving it to different companies when it's really not like that. A child has the opportunity and you have the opportunity to, opt out of the program at any time. This is all volunteer. We're just asking you, can we get some basic information so we can know how to develop programs for young Black teens in the city of Philadelphia. So a lot of things that I guess are generational things that have happened in the African-American community makes the parents kind of scared and not really want to sign their children up to be a part of the study.
And yeah, to let folks know that the study is not about studying the child, it's really about studying the program to see if it's effective for young people to improve decision making. So that's really, that kind of goes to what Tyrone, our caller, was saying earlier. What are the things that influence your decision making? Whatever that decision is, what are the influences in your life? Who do you listen to? Who influences you? Why? What are those things? Who can you talk to? So the first part of the show this morning, we were talking about, taking care of each other. Who do you talk to? There's so much stress. There's so much loss. There's so much death. There's so much fear. Everything is unprecedented right now. But how are we taking care of each other? How do we take care of our young folks, their mind, their bodies, their spirits? How are we taking care of that? I want to talk about the specifics. You can tell folks, how they can get involved in the program, but I also want to know about that soul level for you. Why is this type of work important for you? Why is demystifying research study, especially if it's for us, by us, why is that important to you? So I want you to think about those questions. We're going to take a brief pause and come right back after this.
Nappy style hair products are formulated for today's Black men and women's hair, embracing ancestral hairstyles. Come and experience these products: beard oil for men, cream paste, and napping gel growth oil for braids. Go to www.nappystyles.com or The Movement in Mount Airy, 7133 Germantown Avenue, or African Cultural Art Forum, 221 South 52nd Street, or Culture Exchange, 1450 Point Breeze Avenue. Be happy to be nappy. The Sweet Treat Hut is the highest rated juice bar in Philly, located on the corner of 50th and Thompson Streets, providing delicious, healthy vegan food, juices, and smoothies. Treat yourself to a cup of happiness. Call 215-877-1471.
Tune in this Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. for the Islam Today show, with a perspective on moral guidance and Islamic principles and values.
The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's monthly conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. The next book for May is Living in Color by Tommy Davidson. Be sure to listen live, as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it. Tuesday, May 11th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color.
You're listening to The Source with Tiffany Bacon on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
It's starting now. It's the same feeling I always seem to get around the world. There's no mistaking, I'm clearly taken by that simple fear of you.
Giving us Good Friday grooves, Miss Kayla J. I don't know, is that you in the mix, Miss Kayla J? Who's the DJ? Who's the
Nah, that's DJ 215.
DJ 215 giving us a Good Friday vibe. Thank you so much for you and for DJ 215. Welcome back to the Friday edition of The Source here on WURD. I'm Tiffany Bacon. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to the folks who are checking us out on Facebook Live. Joining me in this segment are two members of the Talking Matters study. They are part of the team that is bringing a dynamic program to young people in the city of Philadelphia to help them improve their decision making when it comes to sexual and reproductive health, also talking about mental health, and also talking about their goals and values. Great conversations are being had with young people in the area. So joining me for the conversation right now are Lee Carson and Marquise King. Thank you, gentlemen. Welcome back. So before the break, I asked, why do you do this? This is a soul question. Why is this work important to you? I'll start with Marquise.
Immediately when you asked why is this work important to me, I thought back to my past, when I was 14 and 19-year-old. And I said, I didn't have nobody to talk to. I feared, having a conversation with my parents. I could remember even a time where I had changes going on in my body, and I took myself to the health center at like 16 years old. And I went down there and didn't know what to do, but was just down there like I need to be checked out. So doing this work made me think about me as an adolescent and how I don't want nobody to be like me. I don't want nobody to be in fear of their parents and not have anyone to talk to and just out there going through things and really don't even understand what's going on. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the skill set. I didn't really, know too much about healthy relationships because I really didn't see any healthy relationships. And, it's hard to obtain a healthy relationship when all you see is abuse in your life, right? So this program, it gives people like me the opportunity to talk to people about healthy relationships. Even if they never seen one before, at least they'll be able to now know that they had a conversation and they could at least have a little bit of understanding of what it looks like. It's also important to me because I feel like my job helps me build camaraderie amongst the communities. And when I say camaraderie, I mean like, not only do we go to, rec centers at times or schools, and ask them to participate, but we're also out there playing basketball with them. We're also out there engaging in any activities that they got going on. If they have cleanup day or, they need us to come down on Saturdays to help with them, we're making sure that we're a part of the community so they won't feel like, we're just down there to get information from them. And I like the work because it's important to me because I feel like I'm a resource. I feel like, I can have the conversation with a young man about homelessness or something like that, and I know who to direct him to. And I didn't have those things. So this work is extremely important to me because it gives me the opportunity to give a young man out there who is me the resources to be able to not be me any longer, if that makes any sense. Like, you don't got to be in the background. You don't got to be in the shadow. You can have these conversations. You can step up. There are people out there that really love you, that really care about you, that really want you to see, that really want you to do your best and be your best. And it took for me to become adult for me to, be able to open up and have those conversations with people. And I feel like I would be a lot further in my life if I was able to, understand a lot of those things at a younger age.
All right. Thank you, Marquise. I appreciate you. Lee, your thoughts. Why is this important to you?
So I think that helping people live their best life, if you will, has been in my soul for a long time. I'm a social worker. And as I mentioned earlier, I've worked as a therapist. And so for me, at the core, it's been about having an empathy for other people and realizing that there are some real challenges that we're facing in our lives. And that if I can use my energy, my intellect, my skill set that I've acquired over time, to really be able to help people through the challenges that they faced or to enhance their lives in any way, then I'm down for that. And so that's really what has fed me over all of these years. And I guess this year, 25 years into my professional career and have always worked in the field, whether it was substance abuse, addictions, or, helping people with anxiety, depression, et cetera, whatever it is, that's really just at the core of who I am, of just really making sure that I'm present with other people and helping them get through challenges. And so young people, it's really key that we get to people earlier. And so that's what I've really appreciated about We Get to Choose and this Talking Matters study, is really being able to support staff, because I'm not doing the direct service work with young people, but to support staff in whatever they need to have an impact on these young people.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. You both have been sharing a lot about this program, but how can, if there is a parent who would like to at least sign their child up, or they would like to sign up for the adult portion, the Let's Talk Real Talk, how can people actually get down with this program?
They can give me a text. This is Marquise King, 267-559-5144. Once you give me a text, I will give you all the information you need about setting up a screening to see if you're eligible to participate. And we'll move forward after that. And the eligibility, well, I guess I can't say that right, but you need to be an African-American teen, 14, 19-year-old who live in the city of Philadelphia. That's who we're looking for. So if you have a parent and you have a young child that's 14, 19 and lives in Philadelphia, give me a call again at 267-559-5144.
Awesome. And for the adults who are like, you know what, I would like to get more knowledge, go over the biology again, because it's been a long time since I've been in biology class, or would like some additional skills on better communication with young people, how can adults sign up for Let's Talk Real Talk?
Yeah, so it's real simple. You just can email me at LECarson, CARSON, at phmc.org. Again, LECarson at phmc.org, and let me know your interest in the Let's Talk Real Talk program. You can call it whatever, the adult program, whatever you call it if you don't remember the name. And then I will get back to you with information about the next cycle. So we actually have one starting on May 1st. So it's a Saturday. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So each of the sessions are about 2.5 hours. And you'll be compensated $20 for each session that you attend. And that will be over the course of 3 weeks. So May 1, May 8, and May 15.
Mm-hmm. And again, since we are still living in a socially distant world, please tell folks how they actually can engage with the program.
Yes. So with both programs, it's all on Zoom. So we're all remote, so you don't have to worry about coming into an office and exposing yourself if you're not comfortable with that. So everything is online via Zoom.
Fantastic. I really appreciate you both for being here talking about this. Something that you said earlier about communication and young people, I just want to reiterate how important it is, especially right now with everything that is going on, that we make as many pathways to communicating with teens as much as possible, and removing as much judgment as possible. Really listen. They may be going through a lot more than you think. I remember being told once, "You too young, you don't know what a problem is yet." Please understand, these young people know and experience many problems. In fact, they experience more things than I could even think about when I was younger. So know that they are looking for, needing the adults in their lives to give them an ear and some guidance and support, and less judgment, guidance and support. And Marquise, what you said about healthy relationships, that is so true. Let me tell you, it would break your heart if you knew how many young people before the age of 18 have already experienced toxic and or abusive relationships. When we talk about what a healthy relationship is, their eyes widen because they have not experienced that yet. And look at you sometimes if you're crazy when you talk about it, because maybe they haven't seen that anywhere in their life experience. It is heartbreaking to see the level of toxicity that exists in their relationships, love relationships, friendships. I'm just going to say this. I'm not trying to be on my high horse, but I know y'all know, because you work with the young people, you work with the adults as well. There was a meme I saw on Facebook the other day by someone who is my age. And she was talking about, listen, y'all, we need to get back to the old school with, we come to the party together, we leave together. We're not letting somebody just go off with any random individual that they meet. If one has to go to the bathroom, we all need to go to the bathroom. That's that safety in numbers approach that a lot of us, mostly the young women, a lot of us took that up back in the day. We're hearing a lot of young people aren't doing that right now. And it's like, hey, it is so important to understand with that friendship, that tight knit, we are looking out for each other, even in the midst of a good time, even in the midst of a party. I still got your back. And knowing that a lot of young folks are missing that element as well. So having that inroad for communication is imperative. And I thank you all for the work that you're doing. Once again, give them the information. How can they reach out?
I can be reached at, this is Marquise King. I can be reached at 267-559-5144. Talking Matters Research Study.
And Let's Talk Real Talk.
And you can reach me at lecarson@phmc.org.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate you both for being here. Hey, don't touch that dial. We are going to slide into our new segment. It is called Stage Door. My very, very special co-host, Jeffrey Page, is here joining us, and we will have a special guest with us as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
We are people of resilience, so let's protect our lives with vaccines we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I would like to play a little tune I just composed not so long ago.
Hey family, do you like hearing the best jazz selections aired by 3 of the best jazz announcers in Philadelphia? Well, tune in to 96.1 FM,
96.1 FM,
and 900 AM, WURD Radio, independent black media for Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Hear Freedom Sounds of Jazz 10 p.m. Fridays with your hosts in rotation, Aquila, Jonathan Bay, and David Fritz. That's 10 p.m. Friday nights on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM, independent black media.
Listening to the Streets brings together young men to create street-level solutions to gun violence. Participants receive a $240 stipend, and if they attend 8 sessions, they're guaranteed a job offer. Man Up PHL and WURD want to end gun violence. Listening to the Streets is a step. Interested? Call 267-748-7818. That's 267-748-7818. Or email us at info@manupphl.org.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent black media.
You are now rocking DJ 215.
Games, changes, and fears. When will they go from here? When will they stop? I believe that fate has brought us here, and we should be together, babe, but we're not. I play it off, but I'm dreaming of you, and I'll keep my cool, but I'm feeling. I try to say goodbye and I choke, I try to walk away and I stumble, though I try to hide it, it's clear. My world crumbles when you are not there. Goodbye and I may seem alright and smile when you leave, but my smile's all just a front, just a front. Hey, and I play it off, but I'm dreaming of you. And I'll keep my cool, but I'm feeling. I try to say goodbye and not choke. Yeah, try to walk away and I stumble. But I try to hide it, it's clear. My world crumbles when you are not near. Goodbye and not choke. Try to walk away and I stumble. But I try to hide it, it's clear. My world crumbles when you are not near.
And welcome back to this Friday edition of The Source. I'm Tiffany Bacon. Thank you so much for joining me. And I want to go right to the phone lines before I introduce our next segment, because I did not get to this caller before we closed out the last segment. So I did not want to leave this gentleman on the line too long. Woody, good afternoon. How are you? You're live on air.
Well, I'm telling you, between you and Kayla J, you make the afternoon, the morning, and the day a great time for everyone. I just appreciated this program today. I just want you to know that the young men have the program about talking. I've had barbershop talk for so many years, and I want to open my doors for them to come to my shop at 5031 Diamond, right at the corner of Bryn Mawr and Lebanon and Winfield, to come in and let's talk a little bit, because I have a lot of information I can share. I know that the young people can't know where they're going unless they know where they came from. And my shop is like going back in the 60s. And they will see things in here, old radios, old telephones, and there's stories behind all of this information. And I have a lot of the pictures of the stars that have been through the barbershop, like the Michael Jacksons and the Jesse Jacksons and the Nina Simones. Everybody has had problems, but when they come in a barbershop, barbershop talk opens the door for you to go back to who you really are inside. So I just want to share that with them. And I'm going to leave my number, 215-879-9935, and I love the work that they're doing. I've been doing it for a long, long time. I just call it barbershop talk.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much.
These young men need help, and anybody can help in any form or fashion. Please do. We need it right about now.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do. Thank you so much for sharing, Woody. I always appreciate you listening, and I appreciate your sharing as well. Thank you. All right, take care. All right, so this is the new segment on the show. We call it Stage Door, and I have a very special co-host who is joining me. He is an artist extraordinaire and a dear friend, Mr. Jeffrey Page. Hi, Jeffrey. Oh, wait, I think you're muted. We can't hear nothing.
Hey, what's going on, Tiffany?
There
How's it
we
going?
Good. Welcome back, week 2. And we have a guest with us this time. We have an actor, we have a writer, a director, and the founder of First World Theater, Zahara McGill, joining us. Hi, Z. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Hanging in there. Thank you so much for being a part of this Stage Door segment. There's so much happening in our world. We want to spend some time in the intersection of art and social justice in this hour. So when I say that, what does that term mean to you?
That's a very difficult and open-ended question there. What does that mean? Social justice. To me, it means getting it right, straighten it out, fix it, resolve the issues. Yeah, that's what it means to me. Fix it.
So Z,
Hi, Jeffrey. I'm so sorry. I wanted to say hi, but I was so overwhelmed with that question there.
Sorry.
You came up to New York and auditioned for me, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I did.
I wanted you so bad, but you was just busy. You was busy.
I know, but I'm not. You know what? I listen. My schedule. I'm busy now, but I will. If you want me, I'm there, Jeffrey. I'm there because I really wanted to work with you. I was like, oh my God, I want to work with him so bad.
Let me tell you, you knocked that thing out the park.
Oh, thank you.
You knocked that thing out the park,
Oh.
but you know, we made it happen. I can't wait to rock and roll with you now.
Well, I'm yours now, so I'm here for you.
I keep telling Tiffany that we gonna have to do some kind of radio play or something.
Yes.
I'm so for it. I think that would be great.
I think you guys should. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to make it happen, and Z, you're gonna have to be a part of it.
Well, I'm just gonna have to be.
You just gonna have to be.
You did the right thing. You said, Z, you're gonna have to see. If you say to me, Z, do you think it's possible? Z will go, let me check my schedule.
No,
But somebody like you, if you demand it.
No, see, because I know your spirit. I know your spirit, Z. And see, I know when you know somebody's spirit, you just got to give them a demand. You got to be a part of this. That's all.
Right.
That's all that's
right.
gonna be.
Right. You got to be like God, honey. Z, you doing this.
So back to Tiffany, how Tiffany started out the question. I know you've heard a lot about what's happening with WCU, White American Theater, and all of the racist systematic things that are happening inside of theater. I'm curious to know your thoughts around that. Like, what are your thoughts around the protests inside of theater, the conversations that are happening inside the theater community, and well, really inside throughout society, and how can we as theater practitioners, how can we start to shift the way things have always been without burning it down? I know a lot of people are speaking in terms of this burn it down thing, and are attempting to build it back up in some regard. Where do you stand in that?
Well, Jeffrey, back in 2020, last year, First World Theater, my company, we hosted several town hall meetings about systemic racism in the African American theater and in white theater, and how we as African Americans have and always have been gotten the short end of the stick, or shall I say, whatever they wanted to give us. And we are at the point that we were tired of that. So last year we held these several town hall meetings, and we invited all of these white companies, every last white company, regional theater companies that we can think of. We invited them to the table for them to take the time to explain to us why, and for them to hear what we needed to say and the things that we wanted when we come into their environment. So right now I'm taking and it seems like it's working, because I've had several white companies reach out to me. Just the other day, Art and Theater here in Philadelphia reached out and asked me to sit on their diversity board to help them figure out what this diversity thing means, and how we as African Americans and people of color can feel safe in that environment and not feel like we are being feeling like we're slaves. We're being told that master said you have to do this and you have to do that, and this is how you have to do it, where we have a voice in this room. So where I take my stand at is that we will take our voices into your rooms and you will hear us.
So before you go too deep into it, I want to know how that conversation panned out. So when you asked them, when you asked them to come in and have a conversation with you, what did some of these white theater organizations say? Like, what was their response in terms of how to shift the gaze and how to start to restructure things? What kind of resonated with you?
What resonated with me, Jeffrey, was their reply to us when they were into the room with us was, we can't say anything. All we can do is listen, because we know that we are in a position that we can fix this, and we have not worked it out. We have not bothered to fix it. That we have been privileged, and that we know we have been, and we know there is an issue. And from them listening, the response was a lot of them came up with these rules and ideas when we as an African American people or people of color into these theater spaces. They came up with a lot of good ideas about how to make these adjustments to making sure that we feel safe and well while we're working at their theater companies. So what resonated with me was we're here to listen and we're here to learn. And what was resonating in my spirit was you may be here to listen and learn, but you're gonna put this into action.
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of, that's where my brain is going as you say that. Like it's I'm kind of done with the whole listening and learning thing. Like number one, I don't want to be your Uncle Ben, and I don't want to be your mammy, and I don't want to need to teach you how to listen and to learn. That's something that you as a fully grown person can do on your own. So when you come to the table, I need you to do more than simply listen and learn. I need you to put stuff in action. You know, I was listening to an interview with Tommy Davidson, and he said three, and I'll never forget it. He said 3 birds on a log, and one of the birds decides to fly. There's still 3 birds on the log, because action requires movement. It's not a decision. It requires something to happen. So you need to do more than listen and learn. How are we going to change this is what I'm always questioning.
Well, what has happened, Jeffrey, out of this, we have demanded for them to start recognizing and using, which they are doing now, more African-American playwrights, not just the well-known ones such as August Wilson and all these wonderful playwrights, other wonderful African-American playwrights that have all this beautiful work that's sitting on the table and don't know where to take it to. If you're going to produce our work, you got to make sure that you're producing African-American work that has meaning, African-American work that responds to the African-American community and to other races. We've also asked them to start using light designers, sound designers, Black stage managers, and the list goes on, and they have responded by doing that. However, we also want to be able to have a say-so. So we're sitting there doing a table read. It's not just about your input. It's about you sitting there listening to what the actors are saying to you, what this piece is all about, because you don't know what it's about. You assume what it's about. We're going to tell you what this piece is about. And making sure, also hiring more Black directors, and making sure if there's a white director directing, like most white directors direct August Wilson plays, and they seem to think that they know exactly what the wonderful August Wilson was saying.
I'm glad you said that, because I want to know what you think about that. What do you, because that is a big thing in New York. It's a big thing. I ain't gonna say too many names because I don't want to get myself in trouble.
You don't have to.
I don't mind getting in trouble.
I'll say it for you, Jeffrey. I'm not scared.
But it was a couple of white directors who was directing August Wilson, and so for our listeners. So August Wilson, the text of August Wilson is some heavy text.
Yes.
Some heavy text, and it got some heavy language.
Yes.
And this language that I would not feel very comfortable having someone who's not my mama or my daddy, or who looks like my mama or my daddy, having authority over. So on Broadway, it has been like that, and even as we move outside of August Wilson, with playwriters like, Terrell McCraney
Yes.
and Choir Boy
Yes.
and Lynn Nottage. What do you think about if we are beating on the door and saying, I can direct Shakespeare, I can direct Ibsen, I can direct Chekhov, then what do you think the problem is? Why do you think we have such an issue with other ethnicities directing Black work? What do you think the disconnect is?
I think the disconnect is that we as Black folks are probably a little uneasy or frightened that they wouldn't really hear what the play is saying. They see the words, they know what they want artistic wise, they know what they want the actor to deliver, but do you really hear? Because the differences between a Black director and a white director, for me, when they're directing one of our plays, is the soul, the depth of the soul. You can do surface work all day long, but if you're not really in the depth of the soul, truly understanding and feeling that experience, for me, you cannot do the job. Now, I don't have a problem, sometimes, it depends on the play, with white directors directing something like an August Wilson or a Lynn Nottage piece. But I feel as though that the white director has to sit at that table and allow those African American actors to guide them through the process, not them guiding us through the process.
Now let me jump in. Let me jump in. So I think I agree with you 100%, but I think it goes a little deeper than that. I think in society, Black people have always needed to sit in a position where we have needed to understand culture outside of our own. We have needed to flip the script. We have needed to I can put on my non-Black voice when I answer the phone, and I can talk like this in a meeting, and I can talk like that in a meeting. But the responsibility of other cultures to come to our block has not been a necessity. Would a white director know what it's like to be in a Black barbershop? Would a white director know what it's like to be in a Black kitchen full of a whole lot of Black women and Black men playing spades and bid whist and frying chicken and having talk? I would know what their homes look like, because we are often the maids, the cooks, the people fixing the this and the people fixing the that. So I know how to flip the script and be you. Do you know how to flip the script and be me?
And Jeffrey, I agree with that. That point is very valid. I truly agree with that. I think a way for them to flip the script to knowing us is to actually come into that barbershop. If the play is about a barbershop, you come into that barbershop and you sit your behind there.
Do you think that they would ever do that? Do you think that they would ever do that?
I know one white director who would do it. That's all I know is one white director who would do it. Who I would actually say, come on, you want to direct this play? Let me take you to Big Mama's kitchen. And I need you to sit in this kitchen and not open your mouth the entire month or 2 months that you have to come every day. Not once a week, but you got to come every day with your little notes, and then your notes is not down there to write down, trying to understand. Your notes is there to ask questions so that you can understand. But you got to keep your mouth shut while you in Big Mama kitchen to make that observation, to understand what we're doing. And unfortunately, they can sit there and collect those notes and understand what we're saying, but they still will never get the legits of what we as a people culturally have been through, are going through, and will go through in the future. They just won't understand it. They can try and get a hold of it, get a little rain on there and say, okay, now I see what's going on. And what you do is you take those notes and then you go back into the process at the table with those African-American actors, and then you sit there and you need to be honest and say, okay, I need to keep my mouth shut and allow you to guide me through this process, because now I see what this is all about.
All right, if you're just tuning in, this is a new segment called Stage Door. My very, very special guest is Zagara McGill. My co-host is Mr. Jeffrey Page. We are talking about art. We are talking about representation. And we have slid into talking about who is telling our story and why. Want to continue that conversation. Your thoughts on who's telling our story and why, you can give us a call always. I appreciate your presence here at the show as well. My awesome listening audience, give us a call at 215-634-8065. You can post your comments on our Facebook page as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more conversation after this.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
Barbers on Broad. We know grooming is important. Let us show you why. Our barbers have over a decade of experience providing quality services in a professional manner. We specialize in all the classic styles and cuts while delivering the sharpest finishes. Located at 1220 North Broad Street, Suite 3, best in town, best on Broad, Barbers on Broad. Mention this ad to save 10% on your next service. This ad is brought to you by the North Broad Renaissance and Truist Foundation. Hey WURD family, have you heard of the new Go to Know campaign? If not, here is the deal. WURD Radio has partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Penn Medicine, LabCorp, and the Independence Blue Cross Foundation to present the Go to Know Fit Kit Screening Campaign. The Go to Know campaign is an at-home screening test for colon cancer. Yup, you heard me right. You can take your own stool sample and mail it back for testing. Did you know colon cancer, if caught early, is 100% preventable? African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. Plus, it is recommended you get screened if you are 45 years of age or older. So for the next 6 months, you can go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. It's that simple. Again, just go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and request your free at-home screening test. That's it. Go to Know today.
You're listening to The Source
on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Mama is gone. I'm all alone. So I should say, the world keeps turning. Oh, what a day. What a day, what a day. Peace and blessings manifest with every lesson learned. If your knowledge were your wealth, then it would be well earned. And we were made in His image, then call us by our names. Most intellects do not believe in God, but they fear us just the same. Oh, no, 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 no. My life keeps moving like a rolling stone. Oh, no, no, no. Right to the break. I go on and on and on and on. My life keeps moving like a rolling stone. On and on and on and on. God damn it, I'ma sing my song. I was born underwater with $3.06. Yeah, you may laugh, 'cause you did not do your math. Like 1, 2, 3. Damn, y'all feel that? Like 1, 2, 3. The world keeps turning. Oh, what a day. What a day, what a day. It could all be so simple.
Stand by. And welcome back to this Friday edition of The Source. I'm Tiffany Bacon. This is our very special segment called Stage Door, where we talk about art and culture. My very special guest is Zahara McGill, who can barely contain herself right now because of what we're about to get into.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
And Mr. Jeffrey Page, who is my co-host for this segment. Let's slide right into it. There is a new Amazon Prime series.
What's it called? What's it called,
It's
Tiffany?
called Them.
Oh,
Come on now.
It is a horror, right?
Come on now.
It's listed
It's not
in
just
the
a
genre.
horror. It's not just a horror.
It's not just a horror, but it's
It's
listed under the genre.
Afrofuturism.
It's all of that.
It's
Oh,
scientific.
okay. Can I introduce it, my lord?
I'm sorry, my bad. All right, you know.
It's listed under the genre of horror. For those who are not yet used to or know much about Afrofuturism, you will recognize the horror elements of this, but there's a lot of debate happening on social media about, is Them for us? Who's telling the story? There is a lot of trauma up in the drama. Have you seen it? Feel free to give your thoughts as well. 215-634-8065. So I'm going to start with Jeffrey because he's one co-host. Two has already acknowledged that he's made 3 social media posts about this series and has lots to say. Jeffrey, is Them for us?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
And people have this, they have a couple of arguments about Them. Number one, that it's Amazon, and so therefore it's white folks telling the story. Number two, because the directors are white, and so, you know, that's problematic, and so on and so forth. What people have to understand about television and film is very different than theater, okay? The director for television, the director for a series does not carry the same weight as a director for a play, right? A director for a television series basically takes their marching orders from the showrunner, from the writer, and from the executive producer.
Correct.
So I asked the question, who is the showrunner? Who's the writer, and who is the executive producer? People would be surprised to know that Lena Waithe is the executive producer. Lena Waithe is a social activist. She is a Black feminist, and she is queer, okay? Number two, the showrunner and the writer is Little Marvin. He is a Black man, and he is a social activist, and he went so far as to say no other person can put hands on this because this is so delicate. So Amazon did something that a large studio would typically never do. They allowed for the creator and the writer to also have the role of a showrunner. Now, a showrunner is kind of like the person who keeps it all together. The showrunner is the person so the showrunner and the executive producer, they work hand in hand. And then the showrunner gives the director, who oftentimes in a television series, you will have a new director for every single episode, right? So the director is just kind of there to, you know, for a television series, the director is there to take their marching orders from the showrunner and from the executive producer. Right. So the director is basically, you know, there to say, okay, we're going to get this, make this shot up there. You know, it's more like a technical role. Right. And I don't mean to demean a director of television, but typically that's what it is. When you compare a director of a play and a musical to a director of a television series, I'm not saying a film. A film is very different. For a television,
and please explain the difference.
For a film, The director for a film functions much like a director for a play and a musical.
Right. Director has much more power.
Yeah, the director has much more power. The director it's only one director for a film because it's a film. It's a full film. It's a 2.5 hour, 3 hour, sometimes 4 hour film where the director is only one director for that whole thing, and the director acts as almost like the CEO of a company. A director for television, because a series is often 30 minutes long, perhaps an hour long. The director is not. Oh Lord, my phone ringing. I'm sorry.
It's them, Jeffrey. It's them. It's them.
It's them.
It's them.
Interrupting you.
So oftentimes, so the director is directing a half-hour series or an hour series, and then a director goes to another show. A director might do 4 or 5, 6 shows in a week. That different shows, different networks. So director doesn't have any anchoring to that particular show. So the two people who have the anchoring of the show are the showrunner and the executive producer. Okay. So now let's go to the next part. Okay. Now people speak about the I want to make sure that I'm not triggering anybody as I speak through this language. There's a violent moment that happens with the lead actress whose name is Lucky. There's many violent moments that happen, but this one particular violent moment that happens with Lucky, I won't say what it is because I don't want to traumatize or trigger anyone. Interestingly, Toni Morrison also writes about those same violent actions inside of Sula, inside of Beloved, and inside of a number of her other novels.
Temple of My Familiar.
Thank you. Hey, come on, Ikalaboshate, right? Come on, hallelujah. Let me also, and so now people say this. Now the argument is this. Well, Jeffrey, a black man should not be writing about such violent acts against a black woman. And to that I say, Octavia Butler in The Parable of the Sower, good book, writes about, very good book, writes about Lauren Olamina's brother, Keith, right? He is violated in horrific ways. Again, I'm being careful with my language because I do not want to trigger anyone. He is violated in horrific ways. This is a black woman writing about what happens to a black man. So now we have little Marvin who is writing about these things that have actually happened in the world. And so people will say it's not cool that little Marvin is able to write about these violent acts that are happening against this woman. But here's another gotcha. Lena Waithe is a black feminist. Lena Waithe is little Marvin's boss. So for him to do anything, it has to pass through her because she is the executive producer.
Okay. You have given me, and I want to get Z's comments in here because she's co-signing for sure and all of that. So part of the debate on social media has to do with all that you just said. The other part is what is deemed as the indigestible violence, even if it is based on fact. The point right now is, how much do we say? How much do we say in the beginning about what's about to happen? Because as I watched it, there was a whole lot I was not expecting, and there was no let up. There was no breathing space, and I believe that's part of the storytelling. There's no breathing space in between the trauma that you are seeing and knowing that a lot of our ancestors, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, and all that experienced a lot of that.
Tiffany, let me just say this before you pass it to Z, and I definitely want to hear what Z has to say about this. But let me just say this: Philando Castile was shot, and I was in St. Martin working with young people. I'm a mentor, and I work with young people all over the world. And so I was in my hotel room when this happened, and I'm looking at this video. His girlfriend is from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. When he was shot, his girlfriend started praying in an accent that felt like my accent. It felt like a tongue that I recognized, and I cried in my apartment for a good 2 hours, right? So and then it kept happening, and it kept happening, kind of like where we are right now. I just woke up this morning and found out another young man was killed, right? Today, right, by the police. So at some point we have to shake the powers that be in the listening ears, and we have to say, y'all need to do something about this. So you saying that police can stay killing us, but we can't make art about it. We can't put them in a state of uncomfort, of fictionalized uncomfort, when I have to wake up and I have to actually experience this in a real way. I can't put you in a state of fictionalized uncomfort. I can't make a statement about what I'm actually going through on a regular basis. I can't make a statement about that. I think that's absolutely bananas. I think it did exactly what it was supposed to do. I also felt uncomfortable. And the thing that I would say to that is I would say, do not binge watch them. You cannot binge watch it, right? Because you will start to quake your insides,
and you know what,
in a way
happened,
that it's,
and
go ahead, Z.
I'm sorry, but I agree with Jeffrey, Tiffany, on everything he said. But the binge watch it, like I said, I binge watched it the other night. I said, let me sit here in the bed, and I don't want to take it in 1 dose, 2 dose, 3. I want to binge watch it. And Jeffrey is so right. I would tell anyone, don't do what I did, because as I watched it, I became angry. I became hurt. There was no, all of a sudden there was no fear. I became fearless. Mm-hmm. I became what the WTF, and I became yes for yes, mm-hmm, for Leah, and yes for Lil Mark. Yes. That's what I became. And he's so right. You cannot binge watch it, because he's right. I began to quake, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I began to cry. And what happened was, I felt my ancestors before, when they were being brought over on those ships. I felt every bit of that pain and hurt and everything else as I sat and I binged on that show. And that's something that I would never, ever do again on a situation like that. Jeffrey is so right. I would tell people, do not binge. Watch it. Take it one step at a time. It's fearless. And I agree with Jeffrey. Why can't we tell our story of the violence that has been put upon us from them in a fictionalized way? But had you been white executive producer, white showrunner, and everything else, it would have been fine. But because it's us putting on them, then there's a problem. I totally agree with Jeffrey with his statement, with all of that. I do, Jeffrey. I totally agree with what you're saying.
Let me just slide in real quick, just because I have not. First of all, I have not posted a lot on social media lately. Anyway, I often don't give my opinion about things because in this particular state that I am in, I am learning to not formulate a lot of opinions until I let things settle, until I get more information, until I do all of that, because I have made rushed opinions on stuff and found out I didn't know anything about the thing. So I'm not doing that. Jeffrey, I'm glad you gave the rundown about who is really running the show, the difference between what's happening in television versus what happens in film and in theater, who's running the show. For this, like Z said, I also binged because I didn't know what I was in for. I wasn't ready. I was not ready for what I saw. And a lot of what Z said is what I experienced. There were a couple of episodes I had to stop. I just had to stop and walk away. I could not finish them for hours. I think maybe a day or two went by before I could finish certain episodes. And it was for art to do that, to have that effect is brilliant to me. We also have to be mindful how we care for ourselves. I started off the program talking about care, self-care, how we care for each other. This is also an example of how art can be so powerful that you have to take care of yourself, especially if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do, which a lot of us do, is you pick this device up and you start scrolling to get your information of the day in small bits. Maybe you can't take CNN. Maybe you don't even want to turn on WURD first thing in the morning. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you reach out to something and you start scrolling, and then you're inundated with all this other trauma, real life, real time trauma. So in this instance, where we are telling our stories, and more of us are able to tell our stories more than ever before, and the way we want to tell them more than ever before, it is equally important that we invest in the care for our emotions after, because that's also what I'm seeing. That for example, and I'm going to let you get into it, Jeffrey. For example, there's a whole lot of programs, including this one, my mother cannot watch because it is too close to home. I can't digest that because I saw it, I lived it, period.
Let me say this. I think that number one, the way that this kind of art should be digested is it should be digested in community. It should be digested with a group of people watching together. It should be curated correctly. Because let me tell you, that show was well researched. It was what Isabel Wilkerson wrote about in The Warmth of Other Suns, what I think it's called a half son, or I forgot what the book is called. Like, he pulled various modes and examples and put it in the show. Like, it was amazing. Number two, we have gotten into this mode of art. We're supposed to do this and applaud for art. We're not supposed to do that for art. America, Western society is the only society where they do this for art. In an Africanist perspective, they don't do this for art. In an Africanist perspective, when they are moved, they jump in and they begin creating the art with the artist. So they are both artist and audience at the same time. I believe what art is supposed to do is supposed to jump inside your head and start to rearrange your internal furniture. It's supposed to do that. It's not this. You could clap for monkeys spinning plates on their hands in Las Vegas. Your applause does nothing for me.
All right, hold on. I want to pause right here because we have a caller, and I just saw them. I don't want the caller to linger too long. Let's take them. We have Rebecca calling in on line 1. Rebecca, good afternoon. You're live on air.
Good afternoon. I saw it. And I want to say the young man said something about the African-American woman and said she was queer. I didn't know what that meant. I wanted to know, what did he mean by that? I don't think that was the way to say anything about anyone. That's number one. He said queer. I didn't understand why that was said. I saw them, and I'm like this. I'm 78 years old, and I saw it. And it's like this. If you don't want to look at something like that, cut it off and look at something else. Once you see this is not what you want to look at, then change your channel. You know, Prime is something you have to go on. You don't have to go to Netflix or somewhere else. So I'm saying that I thought it was, I liked it. And it's like this. It's a movie. It's not real life. Yes, I know we went through all that. I understand that. My mother comes from Savannah, Georgia. But I'm saying that if you don't want to look at something like that, I have girlfriends, certain things they will not look at because it bothers them. It doesn't bother me because I'm the kind of person that this is life. And some things you can shuck off and some things you can't. And whatever you can't, then go to the next thing. Go forward and leave that alone. So I'm just saying that I saw it, and wasn't my cup of tea, but I watched it, and it was what it is. If you don't want to look at something like that, just cut it off.
So
All right, thank you, Rebecca.
Ma'am, Rebecca, you still there?
Yes.
So let me just explain what I meant by queer. So when you hear these acronyms, LGBTQ, that's actually a community of people who have started to take power back. What LGBTQ means is lesbian, gay.
I know what that means.
No, I got you. So just so you understand what I'm saying. So Lena Waithe is a self-professed queer Black woman. She calls herself a queer Black woman. So that's what that means when I say that. It wasn't a way for me to put her down in any kind of way. She actually calls herself a queer Black woman.
Oh, because I know a lot of homosexuals that, people call them queer, and that's not right.
No. That's just to be clear. That's not what I meant at all. I did not mean that as an insult. If you Google her, she calls herself a queer Black woman. She calls herself that, and you can Google that. You can Google that and find that information if you like.
Thank you for letting me know that, because I didn't understand what that meant exactly. I appreciate that.
No, you're very welcome, and I so appreciated what you're talking about. And again, I think that we have to curate spaces for these kinds of works of art. I think it's super important.
Right, it has to be if you can handle it. If you can't, go change the channel and go somewhere else. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Resma Menachem, he wrote a book called My Grandmother's Hands. And what the book is getting at is Black trauma. And he speaks about how to deal with Black trauma. And he calls it healing the Black body. So when you feel something inside, like physically inside of your body that doesn't feel too good, it's good to breathe. You have to center yourself, breathe, understand what it means. And if it starts to affect you in a negative way, then you need to pull back from it.
You should go to the next thing. That's what I'm saying. If you can't handle it, then go, because I have girlfriends that say that. And I tell them, look, it's just a movie. I don't get myself all into it like that. It's just a movie, and go on. If you can't handle that, go somewhere else. So look, thank you so much for explaining that to me, and because I have to go. But God bless you.
Thank you, Miss Rebecca. Have a good one.
Thank you, Ms. Rebecca. So folks are definitely on social media talking about our new segment, Stage Doors. So I want to give Z a chance to chime in because I know you've been wanting to chime in for a second, but thank you for allowing me to take the phone call so Ms. Rebecca didn't have to wait too long. Mama Z, your thoughts?
Well, I love the fact that our elder, Miss Rebecca, called in, and that was a beautiful moment between Jeffrey and Miss Rebecca to explain what that word meant, queer, because she was under the assumption of something else. And I agree with that, and that's why community is so important. That's why it's so important, as Jeffrey said, for us to sit and watch it as a community, so that way we can have these sort of debates. And it was, Miss Rebecca said, it's just a movie. It's just a movie, she kept saying. My response to that is, no, it's not just a movie. This has actually happened.
You read my mind. You are reading my mind, Z.
It's still happening.
When I'm seeing Jonathan Pentland bully that boy in South Carolina.
Yes.
When I see, like, this is not just a movie. This is not just a movie. This is actually happening, and this is our way of getting it off our chest.
Yeah, this is how we did what we're doing. We're regurgitating. We're getting it out. We have to get it out somewhere, because if we don't get it out, we are already on the edge of losing our minds. We are really being pushed over the edge to actually be there and lost in our minds. So there has to be some way for us to get it out. And they've created something to get that out of my system, because if we didn't, and I'm not sending any messages, if we didn't, there will be a price to pay if we weren't able to get it out of our system. So,
hey, Z, let me say this. I think it's important that we finish what the work is. You can't look at a piece of artwork halfway. Like, if you can't finish it, you can't finish it. Right. But don't attempt to judge it. Like, just pull back and zip your mouth and keep your mouth shut. Correct. But the very end of that series, it rectified and came to such a beautiful resolution. When you found out who that minstrel was, baby, I hollered in my living room and I said yes. And when you saw Lucky take back her power from everything that was done to her, and you saw because I have to explain to people that folks think I'm crazy when I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
No, and you're not crazy. One of the highest moments for me, and I don't want to give the movie away, but when Lucky took her power back in front of her child.
Yeah.
That was a moment for me. That was a moment when I thought about my child when she was growing up. When she told me the story, she was standing out on the street and the white boys drove past and threw a bottle out the window and called her the N-word. When Lucky took that power back, that made me feel as a mother, yes, take that power. Teach your child. So when they grow up, they know that they have power, that they matter, that they mean something, and that they are here to take their place in this world. And you will not take any of that away from me without repercussions. And that was a wonderful moment for me. I say hallelujah.
And you will never see it. You will never see it if you don't finish it. If you cut it off halfway and you judge it, then you will never you won't understand what that line meant. You will think that Lucky just went to the dad. I ain't gonna give it away, but you won't understand all of that stuff that you won't understand. So I would encourage people to watch it in community, have conversations about it, curate it correctly, make sure you're researching the information that's put in front of you, and finish it so that you can understand what Lena Waithe, the beautiful Lena Waithe, is trying to do, and what Little Marvin is trying to do, and what those phenomenally talented actors are doing.
And with that, we are out of time. I'm sorry, Mama Z.
I'm sorry.
We are out of time.
We are?
We are out of time. It moves way, way, way too fast. I appreciate it. I encourage folks who have not seen it, please do what Jeffrey said. Finish it. Do not do what Z and I did and watch it all in one sitting. It's not best digested that way. Take your breaks and do watch it in community. Have discussions like we're having today. Talk about it. And for those who really can't watch it, then fine. But if you start it, definitely finish. I thank you, Mama Z, for being here. I appreciate you. How can people follow you on social media? We have
they can find me on
seconds.
Facebook, Zahara McGill. They can find me on Instagram at, Zahara McGill. They can find me on Twitter at Zahara Strong. So, I'm there. Just
awesome.
I'm there.
Awesome. Gotta go. Jeffrey, you can tell everybody next week when we come back. Much love to Kayla J. We are out of here. Please, please, please stay safe and please don't touch that dial. Brother Shamari is next. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
And we both